So the Jacksonville Jaguars are legit. Let's get that out of the way right now. This is a good football team, and the Rams are not going to have it easy, especially traveling overseas to play them. Before we get into that, though, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at Bogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Kick, and Twitch. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is Brunt. So it's going to be that time of the year where it's cold, and being in upstate New York, I just want to wear boots when I go out. Luckily, I got some awesome ones I can throw on right here. Feel comfortable, look good. I mean, this thing is awesome. Brunt Workwear. Brunt sent me the Marin waterproof boots, and they are so comfortable. And they were just tired. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. So right now, for a limited time, my viewers get $10 off at Brunt when using the code JKB at checkout. Just head on over to bruntworkwear.com and use code JKB, and you'll be good to go. So guys, it is a little interesting here, right? The Rams lead the all-time series against the Jacksonville Jaguars 5-1, dating back to 1996, where their only loss was back in 2009. It went to overtime, 23-20 to Jacksonville. The Rams are 2-2 in London games dating back to 2012. They lost to the Patriots 45-7 in 2012. They lost to the Giants 17-10 in 2016. That was the Case Keenum 4-interception game. They beat the Cardinals 33-0 in 2017, and they beat the Bengals 24-10 in 2019. Now, Sean McVay is 2-0 in London and outscoring teams 57-10. So he clearly likes London. The Jaguars, on the other hand, since they love playing in London, have played there 11 times. They're 6-5 in London games dating back to 2013. Now, most recently, they've had games with Trevor Lawrence. They beat the Bills 25-20, and they beat the Falcons 23-7 in 2023. They lost to the Broncos in 2022, 21-17. Now, the Jags are 4-2 this year. They have won against the Panthers 26-10. They lost a 31-27 close game to the Bengals. That is Joe Burrow. He went down in that game, and Jake Browning took over and did a nice job at the time. They beat the Texans 17-10. They beat the 49ers 26-21. They beat the Chiefs. Everyone saw it, 31-28. But they just lost to the Seahawks 20-12. So, the Rams and Jaguars, what are you getting with these teams? Well, they both score around 23 points per game on offense. Now, the Rams give up 18.3 points per game, while the Jags defense gives up about 20 points per game. The Rams score about 50% of the touchdowns in the red zone, whereas the Jags score 55% of the time in the red zone touchdowns. The Rams defense gives up touchdowns 44.4% of the time in the red zone, whereas the Jags defense gives them up at a 52.94% clip. The Rams defense has forced 10 turnovers, and yes, we know they've had some taken away, and the Jags defense leads the league in the NFL, forcing 14 turnovers. So, Trevor Lawrence, let's start there. He's been very inconsistent. He has 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 8 turnover-worthy plays, only 3 big-time throws, leads the league in drops. I do think some of that is just the ball that he throws. And the decision-making has just been a huge issue with Lawrence. If you rush him, he really struggles. His average time to throw is 2.80 seconds, which is a little bit high considering Matthew Stafford's in the 2.5 range. Then you have Travis Etienne. He's been a top 10 running back this year in his own right. You know, a guy that I thought that they were looking to replace, and at one point, suggested the Rams buying low on him. He's looking back to where he was. Now, Bashul Tutin is the backup running back who has the explosiveness to hit a home run if needed. And LaQuint Allen is somebody I really liked in the draft. He comes in to pass protect, and he's also a help returning kicks. Now, Brian Thomas Jr., okay? he is an absolute stud. He's the most targeted receiver on this team, and for good reason. He leads the receiving, on that department. BTJ is very talented and can take the top off the defense, but he's also built just overall body construction. He's built to break tackles. He's built to go up and box out defenders. He's very, very fun to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, Travis Hunter, who's second in targets and yards and is first on the team in yards after the catch. There you go. The second overall pick is very fun to watch. The Jaguars knew he was something special, and they went out and they gave up draft picks in the future to go and get him. Parker Washington and Diami Brown have 23 targets apiece. Both have been utilized. And then Tim Patrick just caught his first touchdown of the year last week against Seattle. So the wide receiver room, it's a good one. There are definitely some talent there for Trevor Lawrence to dish the ball out to. But I've been really impressed with Brenton Strange. He really jumps off the tape. Just you look at him, he's not only impressive when he's targeted, he's caught 83.3% of his passes. He can line up in line, he can line up in the slot. He can really make plays after the catch. And while the Jags also have former Rams Hunter Long and Johnny Munt, and they've done their thing, Brenton Strange really stands out as a blocker. His receiving game already is there, but seeing him block, this is a guy that can end up being really good moving forward. I already think he's a very quality tight end that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. But then you look at the offensive line, and an offensive line that I thought was a little bit better on paper than what they are. They are coming off a brutal week. You would have to believe that they lost by a lot more than 8 with the way this offensive line played, giving up 39 pressures last week to Seattle. The tape is brutal. I don't recommend watching it if you are looking for, let's say, quality offensive line play. 7 sacks. The Jags offensive line, Jonah Monheim gave up 4 pressures last week. That's how many Robert Hainsey's given up the whole year. But when you look, I don't know if Hainsey's going to play. They need him for sure. Walker Little has 5 sacks this year given up in 22 pressures. Ezra Cleveland has 2 sacks and 12 pressures. And then you have those both Monheim and Hainsey that haven't given up a sack. But of course, Monheim has given up 5 pressures, and 4 of them came this past week. Patrick McCarty's given up a sack and 12 pressures, and Anton Harrison's given up 0 sacks and 13 pressures. But here's the deal. Anton Harrison wasn't great either. So these guys, while Robert Hainsey didn't play, and I do believe that puts the Jaguars in trouble if he doesn't play this week, it doesn't excuse the fact that Walker gave up 6 pressures and 4 sacks, and Anton Harrison gave up 4 pressures. Just doesn't excuse that. So it is worth noting the offensive line, when you're watching the film, you could just see this Seattle defensive front just really wore them down as the game went on. The Seahawks, physically bully teams, and they have a lot of power rushing. And that's something the Rams do really well. Guys like Byron Young, guys like Jared Verse, guys like Kobe Turner. So that could be a problem for the Jacksonville Jaguars. On their side of things, on the defensive side, Josh Hines-Allen is an absolute star, but he's not having his best year so far, and he did nothing against the Seahawks last week. It was really disappointing. Trayvon Walker has been a tad disappointing as well. So this pass rush, if they play like they did last week, could be an easier matchup for the Rams' revitalized pass protection now with Steve Avila back and potentially having something in Warren McClendon Jr. at right tackle. Davon Hamilton is their top run defender. Funny enough, the interior defensive lineman there is the brother of Ty Hamilton of the Rams. So I guess it's the Hamilton Bowl. Arik Armstead is still a very talented player in his own right. I know he's gotten up there in age, but still really good football player. Can definitely rush the passer, help in run support. Second-year man out of LSU, Mason Smith, also helps in the interior, as well as nose tackle Austin Johnson. The linebacker room took a hit. Devin Lloyd has been an absolute star this year. He's leading the league in interceptions. He's second in PFF grade for linebackers. He's third in blitz pressures. But the problem is he's out this Sunday, which is significant. But of course, he did get hurt last week, and Ventrell Miller had to step in, and I thought he played very well. One of the highest graded linebackers according to PFF, but the film really shows they can kind of use him. He's not Devin Lloyd, but they can use him in a similar way, have him blitz, have him, obviously his opportunities and coverage. And then you have Foye Oluokun, who is one of, if not the best tackling linebacker in all of football. That unit is still going to miss Devin Lloyd, though. Let's be honest here. The new and improved Devin Lloyd, not the Devin Lloyd that we thought the Jaguars were going to give up on. I give him a lot of credit. I give James Gladstone a lot of credit for sticking with him because he's a very good, I think he's always been very talented, but it's all finally coming together. Hopefully the injury is not serious and he's able to be back as soon as possible. Dennis Gardeck works extremely well in their base 4-3 as a Sam linebacker. So I like seeing the way that they've utilized him, the former Arizona Cardinal. He's somebody that, of course, can blitz. He was an edge defender for the Cardinals last year. So we'll see how he's utilized, but, kind of in the similar vein as, somebody like a Van Ginkel when the Rams play against the Vikings. But the Jaguars did trade away the talented but struggling Tyson Campbell, and they acquired Greg Newsome II, a guy that was on a lot of people's radars, including myself and many of you that are watching. While Newsome, was targeted only once since being acquired, he made his debut last week, only 7 snaps, but he gave up a 61-yard touchdown to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now, to be fair, JSN right now is leading the league in receiving, but that said, only 7 snaps and to give up a touchdown and give up a 61-yarder at that is pretty brutal. Will he get more snaps against the Rams? I think that's really a big question to be asked. And then the Jags, they're expected to start Jordan Lewis at left corner. The free agent acquisition that former Rams front office guy James Gladstone, now GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars, was all over for a while per reports. Jordan Lewis is typically a well-rounded, disciplined cornerback that is extremely sound as a tackler. Even though he's likely to have, a career high in missed tackles this year, he's still a very good player. And he's had a good year. The Jags initially signed Jordan Lewis to play slot corner, and that's where most of his reps took place. But around week 4, he started to play more on the outside and is now rotating between the two, likely, until Newsome is acclimated. I think that's why they acquired Newsome. But Lewis is a targeted pass rating of 70.3, which is very good. He's having a really good year. Speaking of, really good years, Montaric Brown. He's a former draft crush of mine. If you guys have been following me for a while, back in 2022 out of Arkansas, he's been around the Jags as a UDFA, or excuse me, a 7th round pick, but he might finally be coming into his own at age 26 since he started playing in week 4 this year. Brown has a 62.2 targeted passer rating and has done a really nice job. He logged his first start of the year against the Seahawks this past week, holding them to just 2 catches for 31 yards on 4 targets and had 2 pass breakups to go with it. Montaric Brown is definitely a player to look out for, as well as Travis Hunter, who I already mentioned. But yes, he is your Shohei Ohtani of the NFL. He is a two-way player. He played 139 snaps to this point at wide corner. There's definitely going to be a rotation, and there has been a rotation for the 4 talented cornerbacks. Hunter has an 84.2 targeted passer rating on the year, which I think is still pretty damn good. He's shown some serious potential as a legitimate two-way player, in my opinion, and the tape shows you he's not just a novelty, and he is 100% the real deal. I believe that it's probably best to use him on the outside and use him the way they're using him. You can't play him the whole game, but when you have the talent that they have, when you can go to a Jordan Lewis and you can go to a Greg Newsome when he's available and when he gets acclimated with the defense, and you can go to a Montaric Brown, you have to feel good about where you're at. So Travis Hunter, the gift that keeps on giving, I'm really excited to see his development. And I think really he has not been utilized nearly enough in the passing game. We'll see if that happens this week. As far as the safety room is concerned, it's a talented one. Eric Murray doesn't get enough credit. Antonio Johnson and Andrew Wingard. Murray, in my opinion, is their best safety all around. I think Wingard has his moments, of really like those explosive plays. You're looking, for a guy that's going to blitz. It's going to be Wingard, in my opinion, but most out of the group, I think, Eric Murray is the most talented for sure. As far as special teams goes, Cam Little, their kicker, is most notably the guy who hit the preseason 70-yarder. He's been a little shaky from 40 plus, only 4 for 7. The kick returner, LaQuint Allen, who I mentioned earlier, really talented, can give the Jags some good field position. I think probably around like the 26 to 29 yard line as far as average. And then, punt returner Parker Washington has a touchdown this year, so it's something to keep an eye on, but he also has a muffed punt as well. So also something to keep an eye on. With the struggles of the Rams special teams units, though, they have to be aware of the Jaguars returners. These guys are explosive. They can make plays. I think the biggest takeaway from the Jags on tape is that they have a good roster. They are very, very good. They have a good football team. They're legit, but Trevor Lawrence really struggles to push the ball down the field. He's attempted 18 passes, 20 plus or more yards, and has only completed 4 of them for 127 yards, which is a 33.3 passer rating. Lawrence, even in the intermediate this year, has a 75.8 passer rating. So this feels like a good matchup for the Rams that they play Lawrence like they have against really anyone not named Mac Jones. Literally throw away whatever game plan Chris Shula had against the 49ers. If you just play your style of defense, I think you're going to force some turnovers on Trevor Lawrence, and you're going to make him incredibly uncomfortable. I think the offensive line is outmatched versus the Rams pass rush. I think this is one of the most penalized teams in the league and undisciplined compared to the Rams. And if this is a close game, that's going to matter. And then you have Sean McVay, who knows Liam Cohen well. I don't see him being caught off guard. So I'm expecting the Rams to test a good Jaguars rushing defense early on, try and set up the play action, but I do expect this Jaguars team to have a good defense. The deep ball, mainly Tutu Atwell, will be open for business, though, in this one. I do believe he catches at least one of them. The Rams are going to win this due to their explosive plays and their pass rush getting to Trevor Lawrence. I think the Jaguars, if they do get a Trevor Lawrence that plays clean football, gets rid of the ball quickly, and is effective, while Matthew Stafford, on the other hand, turns the ball over on the other end. Now, keep in mind, this defense leads all the league in turnovers. There is a recipe for disaster and a win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, it's worth mentioning that Davante Adams, the last time he saw the Jacksonville Jaguars, went for 9 catches, 198 yards, and 2 touchdowns with the New York Jets last December. He's caught at least 1 touchdown in every meeting against them, but the last 2 meetings, he's caught at least 9 catches for 140 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. Is this the Adams breakout game that we've been waiting for? With Nacua likely not playing, I would not be surprised if it is. But it's London. Anything can happen. Those are my thoughts. Before we head out of here, just want to remind you guys that the sponsor of this channel, of course, as well as Brunt, is Sleeper. And the NFL season is here. You got to get in on the action, right? We got the Steelers game coming up with the Bengals. If you have, personally, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to dominate the entire slate. I think he is going to be, the leading passer of the week. So if you think that as well, you can put your money where your mouth is. 100 extra cash with daily fantasy using my code JKB and get the $20 free entry if you haven't already. No deposit required. So be sure to check out Sleeper, check out Brunt. Both codes are JKB. The links are in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks. Later.